We've said how we'll pay for the 2.5%. We'll never make commitments to increase funding unless we can show how we're paying for them. And we're switching money out of overseas development aid in this parliament to be able to increase this defence spending, a record increase, a level this country's not spent since 2010, funding that has just not been available to meet the threats and to do what defence needs to do.
So your commitment is to get to 3%, Mr. Healey?
No, indeed. We aim to hit 3% during the next parliament.
So where's that funding from?
As the Prime Minister said, you know, we're 100%, he's 100% confident that we'll be able to deliver that 3%.
Confident, but where's it coming from?
Well, in the end, everything about a country and what it aims to do depends on economic growth. And that's why that's the #1 mission of this government.
All right. Shalom. Let's start off by saying, Call Halayim La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harikah Kudash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and my elder Harold one as well. Salutations to the argument that puts in the truth, sincerity, and truth, and peace and blessings to the men and women and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right, I'm Clark, so I'm by Yahshua from the Lions of the Yahshua camp. And this is another Lions and News and Prophecy. So let's get it. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 1. It says, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written on. Right? The words of Yahweh Shem Shai are faithful and true. Like the scripture says, his words shall not return unto him void. All right. So now that video was talking about Britain's increased budget for defense spending, which they haven't really been focused on that since you heard in the video since 2010. Why is that? All right, so look at the title of this article. It says Russia is already at war with Britain, and we can no longer rely on Trump defense advisor warns. Right, so they were relying on America and Britain as part of their defense. Right, I mean America and NATO as part of their defense, and you even have the European Union trying to develop their own army infrastructure also, which they haven't had before. All right, so now, what is this war between Britain and Russia? We're going to find out. It says, Britain is already at war with Russia. One of the authors of the Government Strategic Defense Review has warned, while arguing that the UK can no longer rely on the United States as a dependable ally. See that? What is this going into? This is what it's going into. Let me find the scripture real quick. What is it? Is it 50 and 16? We're going to find out. Bear with me 1 second. All right. Try 51. Bear with me 1 second. So what's going to happen? You also got these turn and hate the whore. It's roughly paraphrasing, says the mother that bare thee shall be sore confounded. And it's talking about Britain Britain, despising and being ashamed of America. All right. It must be 50. I know it's in Jeremiah, but that's what this is going into, basically. So, and then ultimately those 10 are going to hate the whore. All right. So you're going to have the 10 heads are going to turn and hate and hate the whore and burn her with fire. See, the Lord is okay. Let's go ahead with this. Jeremiah 51:1. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon, against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind." That's ultimately going to need to be these missiles. He says, "And I will also send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and empty her land for the day of the Lord for the day of trouble. They shall be against her round about." So the Lord is raising up a bunch of enemies against America, even the ones that are said to be allies to America are going to be risen up as an enemy against this place. All right, so this we're witnessing. This is what this leading up into. All right, it says Dr. Fiona Hill, who served as the White House chief Russian advisor during Trump's first term, said the UK is in pretty big trouble, warning that the country is stuck between the rock of Russia aggression and the hard place of increasingly unreliable U.S. under Trump. All right, see that? So under the Trump administration, a lot of people have been saying that they can't rely on them because, like how Trump cut funding to Ukraine, and how that he's been allegedly cutting funding to help Israel. All right, so America's ruffling a lot of feathers right now, and people are getting mighty upset that America's not continuing the routine that they said they were going to do under this new administration. All right, so which is causing a lot of turmoil and the whole global mindset of World War III. So this is getting us. It's another article that I want to read on another lesson that talks about how Britain is getting involved up in the anti-nuclear arms race. Right? It says her comments come after the government's strategic defense review unveiled last week found that the armed forces are not ready to fight opponents like Russia or China. This is talking about Britain. So Russia has hardened as an adversary in ways that we probably hadn't fully anticipated, Dr. Hill told the Guardian, concluding that Russia is at war with us, arguing that the Kremlin has been menacing the UK in various different ways for years. She cited the poisoning, administration, sabotage, assassinations, sabotage operations, all kinds of cyber attacks and influence operations. The sensors that we see that they're putting down around critical pipelines, efforts to butcher undersea cables. And then what did they do? What was it, last winter? When they cut off the oil, the petroleum supply, and it got real cold over there, man. Because a lot of them get their oil, petroleum supply from Russia through that pipeline. Right? It says the SDR, authored by Dr. Hill, Lord Robinson, and General Sir Richard Barons, was presented by Defense Strategy John Haley last week. He warned that the British Army needed to become 10 times more lethal in the face of the immediate and pressing threat from Russia and the rise of China. And China there's another article I got to read. China just sent another aircraft carrier over to the Pacific by China's eastern border. Not China, but Japan's most eastern border. It says, we are in a new era of threat, which demands a new era of UK defense, he told MPs. And the threat, and that's going to, because the unreliable the unreliability of the United States is going to cause them to turn and hate this place. It said, the mother that birthed thee shall be sore confounded. You know? Man, I wish I could find that. But yeah, I'm still looking for it. Slacky. All right. So now it says the review found that the armed forces are not ready to fight its opponents as a result of inadequate stockpiles of weapons, medical services that cannot cope with a mass casualty conflict, and a personnel crisis that means only a small number of troops are ready to be deployed. They caught with their pants down. Meanwhile, General Sir Richard Burns warned that a cruise missile was only 90 miles away from the UK. Oh, that's a cruise missile setup that's aimed right towards them. See that? But okay, here it is. This is Jeremiah 50:12. It says, your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost nations shall be a wilderness and a dry desert. See? They're ashamed at America, man. So this place is gonna be utterly destroyed. Everybody gonna have their hands on destroying this place, man. It says, meanwhile, General Sir Richard Burrows warned that a cruise missile was only 90 miles away from the UK. Sir Keir Strammer unveiled the review of the Govan shipbuilding yard in Scotland, pledging to make Britain a battle-ready armor-clad nation. The plan includes increasing the army to 100,000 personnel, commissioning 12 new submarines, deploying drones, and rolling out artificial intelligence systems. And where are they going to buy all this from? Where are they going to get all the money to buy it? That's what that conversation was about in that news press. That's why she kept pressing his ass, talking about, where is it coming from? Well, he started stuttering. He was like, the number one thing is going to be economic growth. Economic growth how? The global economy is in shambles right now with all this tariff and trade war going on and these wars going on. You know? They late in the game. They should have been raising money to put in towards defense. Now you're gonna try to raise. You can't. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to raise it and spend it at the same time because you got to put someone back to make more money. You got to put some back in the re-up pile. They're not able to do that. Now you're witnessing America and Great Britain getting stretched thin, not being able to defend themselves. See how the Lord's setting them up for the okie doke? They thought they had, you know what I'm saying, whose deadly wound was healed. They thought they had, by putting together NATO, European Union, and America, that deadly wound of Rome was healed. But now, Babylon's not healed. Hold on. We would have healed Babylon, but she could not be healed. Let me see. Ew. Oh, shit, I forgot. Keyboard don't work. 51-9. Let me get that real quick. They're trying to do all they can do to try to restore this place, restore Europe, restore the bottomless pit, restore the European Union, restore NATO, but they really ain't giving two fucks about America because of how America acting right now. You see that? So everybody has America as a target. is Jeremiah 51:9. It says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies." Right. Ain't nobody. Everybody gonna reserve. Everybody, instead of becoming nationalists, they're gonna become, what is it? Instead of becoming globalists, they're gonna become nationalists, if that's the right term. Everybody's gonna be concerned about their own nation and their own country. Nobody's gonna be concerned about, you know what I'm saying, especially dealing with, America. Nobody's gonna come to the aid of America. Everybody's forsaking America right now. You know, it says Dr. Hill, who was highly, wait, hold on. No, skip this part. It says, however, doubts were raised over the government's big ambitions to make Britain safer and stronger after Sarah Keir refused to commit to spending 3% of Britain's gross domestic product on defense by 2034. This is going to be flatlined by then, which the review warned was essential to ensure the plans were affordable. Right, so Dr. Hill, who's highly critical of the Trump administration, said Britain could no longer rely on the U.S. military umbrella as it did during the Cold War, at least not in the way that we did before. See that? So they got to turn against America and forsake it, because they can't be more no. And that's really the only focus that they were using America for the military might and to be the hammer of the earth. Once they're not able, once that hammer is broken, it's not has its force anymore. They have no point of dealing with America, so they're going to forsake the United States. It says it comes after the SDR contained a similar warning, saying the UK long-siding assumptions about global power balances and structure are no longer certain. The defense advisor Slocky argued that the United States president really wants to have a separate relationship with Putin to do arms control agreements and also business that would probably enrich their entourages further. Though Putin doesn't need any more enrichment. Speaking about Mr. Trump's White House, Dr. Hill warned it is not an administration, it is a court, arguing that the president is driven primarily by his own desires and interests, and who listens often to the last person to talk. It says, speaking about the rise of the populist right in the U.S., she expressed concerns it could do well in British electoral politics if the same culture wars are allowed to grow in influence. It says, it's just a little bit long. I'll read the rest of it. It says, warning of the impact of reform, she said, when Nigel Farage says he wants to do a doge against the local country council, he should come over here to the U.S. and see what kind of impact that has. This is going to be a large layoff in U.S. history, the largest layoffs in U.S. history, happening all at once, much bigger than hits to steelwork and coal miners. The Department of Government Efficiency, is an initiative by the second Trump administration, which aims to cut wasteful spending. Right. So I got some friends that are in the armed forces. Well, they work for the government, and a lot of them are laid off, sitting at home right now, looking for work. So this new administration is putting a lot of pressure on the United States, man. So not only are you going to have these other countries, rising up against America, America's going to rise up against America, because, you see the riots that are going on over in LA with the ICE situation and the immigration and stuff like that. You're going to see America was founded on division, right? But you're going to see a lot more division in this place because of this administration. You know what I'm saying? The administration is to blame, but it's all being done by the power of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. to turn back our captivity right before our eyes. You can see that? So that's why it says, cause them to be written on paper because they are faithful and true. The words of the Lord will not return unto him void. So what is this happening? We're witnessing Britain, who birthed America, Europe, who birthed America, right? Being despised, right, and ashamed of its child, of the one that they rose up to be in this position that it's in right now, doing what the work that it does. Now, what happens when a child starts to go through puberty? They start smelling themselves. They start, feeling themselves. And what do? They turn and rebel against the parents. And this is what we're witnessing happen right now. You see that? So, but it's all going to be a witness against Babylon, which is America. And it's all going to lead to its destruction, man. So, Lord willing, this lesson edify and serve its purpose for the hope of the elect, the ones who truly believe in the name Yahweh Shem Shai. With that, I'd like to say, call Halayim La Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai, by Shem Harikah Kodash Ma'amah. Double honors to the other apostles, the great most on my elder here one as well. Salutations to the Archon that are pushing the truth, sincerity, and truth. And peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name Yahweh Shem Shai. Shalom.